G'day folks, welcome to the Mindset for Success series. This is Niall McInnes. I've got the special guest Tim Morris here today, from the view on there. And I'm going to go through a quick list of what Tim's done. He's Director of Education at the Entourage, founder of LearnLab, which is sort of a field of online education, teaching people how to create online courses. Director at the Pantless Postman, which is finished up now, but that's the sort of one reason I wanted to interview him, and I'll talk about that in a minute. General manager.
I'm keeping my pants on in this one, mate.
I've got mine off. What else we got here? General manager at Uber. So I guess you must have been there when it first started out in Australia, were you?
Yeah. So I launched it in Melbourne.
Wow, awesome. So
it was actually a while ago now.
Yeah, I didn't actually realise until I went through your bio there that it's in 2013, because it sort of really took off last year, didn't it? So yeah, awesome. And a sessional lecturer at RMIT University, and there's many more, but that's just a few I've pulled up. So I guess I'll let you introduce yourself now. What is it that you get up to in your life nowadays?
Cool. Well, thanks for the intro. Covered a lot of it there. But as you say, now I'm the Director of Education at the Entourage. So the Entourage is an education institution for entrepreneurs, which is how we connected up. So I develop all of the education programs we use to help entrepreneurs grow their businesses, scale them, ultimately exit out of them. We've got a number of different programs for entrepreneurs at different stages. So I look after everything from basically the life cycle of that education, from the development, so what we make, what it's going to look like, what it's going to teach, then to how we deliver it, so how we take the students through that program, and then ultimately how we support them through it as well. So that's the customer support side of stuff. So it's rather significant chunk of how we interact with all our members and students.
Cool. Now I saw, just looking through your bio, like you've got a few sort of online programs already, and that work with LearnLab. Did you start out? You started out sort of creating your own courses online for education. How did that all start up for you?
Yeah, it's been. I always say that I've had two streams, right, to what I've done. So one stream has always been entrepreneurship. So I studied entrepreneurship at RMIT, like back in the day. I finished that in 2005. So that's before YouTube, before Facebook, certainly before all of the the tech startups that we all know and love now. I was explaining that to a couple of the guys here. One of the girls piped up and goes, "Fuck, how old are you?" I'm like, "That's not the point." The point
Get back to the subject.
yeah. I mean, entrepreneurship back then was very, very different, right? It was kind of build it and they will come. There wasn't all this understanding of lean startup, testing, iterating, finding a viable business model. But still, I studied it. It was a very good course. And from there, I went into my own business. So my first business was an innovation consulting business. So we'd work with large corporates like gas companies, banks, those sort of big behemoths, and help them do new products and new services. And then, that's entrepreneurial stream. And then one of those businesses kind of pivoted into education. So I had a fairly strong relationship with RMIT. They asked me to come along and teach one of their classes on innovation and entrepreneurship for a couple of weeks. So I went along and I found I really loved it, but it was still like traditional education. I would stand in front of a lecture theatre of 150, 180 students, talk at them for an hour. Then everyone would break off into tutorials and would sort of do more the application in the tutorials. The problem was that uni students don't turn up to lectures, right? So if we're supposed to have 150 of them in the lecture theatre, like 50 of them would be sick. 50 of them wouldn't be paying any attention. Out of the 50 that were kind of there and zoned in, they wouldn't get it all. So by the time everyone dispersed off into the tutorials, no one really knew what the hell was going on. So this would have been like 2008. Yeah, around 2008, I would have been doing that. And then so the university said to me, they're like, "Hey, we know we've got to do some online learning. Like, we know this is kind of the future of where education is going, but we've got no idea how to do it." They said to me, they were like, "You know about computers and stuff, so can you come up with a plan?" And, the entrepreneur in me is like, "Oh yeah." And they're like, "And we've got budget. We've got budget for this." So the entrepreneur's like, "So you've got budget, you don't know what you need to do, but you're pretty sure that I'm the guy that can do it for you." And they're like, "Yes."
That's
I'm like,
awesome.
"All right, let's do it." So I went away and did a bit of research, and things like Khan Academy were just starting to take off, and a couple of other sort of big online learning platforms was just starting to take off. And I went back to the university and I'm like, I reckon we can really change things up here. Everything I teach in the lecture, I think we can turn that into short online videos, make the students watch it before they come to tutorials where it's all about discussion and applying what they learn, which is this real, what's now called the flipped classroom, right? But that term hadn't really been coined then. So we did that just on the innovation entrepreneurship course that I was teaching, and it worked really, really well. The students loved it. So I ended up doing that across that whole program at RMIT. This is where LearnLab came from. So RMIT had all these courses they wanted to get online. Other universities had that as well. So that really gave rise to my kind of second stream, which is online education. With always a bit of an entrepreneurial bent, but with LearnLab, we make all sorts of courses. So, getting to the Entourage is really like, it's the crossover of those two streams. We've got entrepreneurship on one side, love, have an absolute passion for it, being involved in it, seeing how it's evolved over the years, and then the education part's the other bit. So, cool. Nice little meeting of the two.
Yeah, wicked. So did you come from like an entrepreneurial family?
No, I didn't. No, my dad was he's a little bit more entrepreneurial in his later life, but he worked for the large American banks mainly. So he worked for like JP Morgan, State Street, those sort of companies, and then he ended up heading up a part of NAB. So actually, when I was growing up, I had no idea what he did, like none at all. Like when you're 13, 14, and your dad's like a professional manager, you're like. He wouldn't have a clue. But he does have elements of sort of entrepreneurial characteristics. He retired at 55 on the dot. Said, right, that's it, I'm out. Does own or has invested in a couple of businesses with a long-term business partner of his. But that's really sort of, those have gotten more attention over the last sort of 10, 15 years. But not in terms of, I wouldn't say I was from an entrepreneurial family like the ones you hear where like, Mum was running this business, Dad was running this business. The kids were sort of out there hustling from an early age. I wouldn't say I'm from that background.
Okay, so the reason I asked that question is because I want to find out. I find that very successful people have just got balls. They've got balls to go do things that are scary, right? So yeah. I call myself a fear coach because I think the only thing that limits people is a fear of rejection and stuff like that. So. Yep. There's a couple of things there. Like the first reason I want to interview you is because the very first time I met you was for the marketing weekend we did at SNS, and you talked about your campaign for the Pantless Postman, which was you getting your undies with, I don't know how many blokes did it, 50 or 100 or something?
50 or 60 friends, yeah.
And got on public transport in Melbourne and filmed the whole lot, and that was your advertising campaign. Is that about right?
Yeah, absolutely. That's how we launched the Pantless Postman, which was an underwear and socks by subscription. So we'd send out new sets of undies and socks to guys across Australia sort of every month or 2 months, depending what they signed up for. And to launch it, we did our own pantless train ride where we convinced 50 or 60 mates to jump on a peak hour Friday train from several stops out of the city in Melbourne, and we all went into Flinders Street Station and jumped off there. It was a great launch. Like we had national TV, so I think Sunrise did 2 live crosses. MX did an article. It was. I think we never had a busier day in traffic on the site as that initial launch.
Now, did you?
Which is probably got some to it as well, but
I'm just thinking about how you actually integrated. Did people? I guess all your mates came from different locations, so did they all come? They just stripped up their pants in the street and got on the train, or did they come pantless to the location?
we had a couple of like jump on points.
Yeah.
So a group of us, about maybe about 10 of us, started at the furthest train station, like maybe 4 or 5 out from the city, and like we planned this. This was like a military operation. Yeah. We knew. Yeah, we must have been about 5 or 6 stops out of the city because it stopped at the station we were at, and then it was an express into one of the closer stations. So about 10 of us got on that train, still with our pants on. And we're pretending we didn't know each other. It was just like normal everyday at the office. And then we started taking our pants off on the train. Yeah. But still not talking to each other. Like, it was just like people across the carriage, getting their pants off, guys and girls. We had a couple of girls there as well, and everyone's like, "What is going on?" Meanwhile, so the train's coming towards Richmond Station, or it might have been South Yarra, and we had the rest of the group waiting there. Again, they're all just on the platform, pretending not to know each other with their pants on. One of my mates, he was the signal for everyone to drop their pants. So we're like, the best idea we could come up with was that he would have an umbrella, and when he put the umbrella down, that was the signal for everyone to drop their pants. The problem was, it was this bright sunny day. So my mate's standing there on a train platform looking like a weirdo with an umbrella, and then he drops it, and then everyone else starts like taking their pants off. And then when our train pulled in, they all jump on the train, and anyone that hadn't quite clued in, but everyone knew something was going on. But then when you have like another 50 people get on with no pants on, that was kind of the crescendo. Then we went in the city, got off at Flinders Street, and went up and did like another interview with Channel 7.
I'm sure the bloke with the umbrella felt like a weirdo with the umbrella until he put his pants off, and then he felt normal again.
Yeah, exactly. He's like, well, I had no problem holding an umbrella now. or he was now surrounded by a whole bunch of people that were doing the same thing.
Yeah, that's right.
What do they say? Like one guy in a bear suit looks like a bit of a dick. 10 guys in a bear suit look awesome.
Yeah, that's true. Cool. So that goes, the whole thing there is just because a lot of the people I work with, and the reason I know so much about fear is because I felt it for so long. Like, I used to be that real glass half full guy the truth was I was just scared of doing things. So I'd see the negative things, so it got me an excuse to get out. But
yeah.
I would have seen things, what if we do all this and then we don't get any sales, and what if the TV turns up, and I don't know. Would have always been thinking about the negatives, and now since I've gotten rid of that fear, you can see the fun in stuff you do, and you think, well, if we do it and don't get any sales, it's just a fun thing to do. Like, we'll have a laugh about it.
Well, exactly. What's the downside? Well, actually, so far, my now fiance, who we're getting married in like a month or so, awesome. Was I think we just started going out when we did that Pantless train ride, and she worked for one of the big consulting companies in the city. And I'm like, you've got to do it. You've got to do this. And she's like, no way am I doing this. Like, what if I see one of my clients on the train? Like, they're all going to be going to work. Like, I've got to be serious at work. I can't do this. And finally, we convinced her to do it. I think her sister convinced her to do it. So she did it. And at the end, when it's the Channel 7 national TV coverage, and we're all kind of lining up, all you see is Claire push through the crowd and like strike a pose right on national TV. Which is the opposite of what she was feeling like 2 weeks before, and such a highlight.
She got in the zone. She
definitely got in the spirit of the thing.
Cool. And so for the same reason, like, I'd like to find out how, because you said you took this, you took your sort of your innovation company into large corporates. How did that come about? Was that sort of, was that through contacts through your dad, or did you just have the confidence to go up to those corporates in the first place?
Yeah, it was just it was absolutely through just approaching them. So the reason I went into the innovation space rather than to the pure entrepreneurship space was that, as I said, it was a different landscape back then, right? Entrepreneurship was a different kind of beast. It still had a pretty negative connotation, the Alan Bonds of the world and those kind of guys. And at the same time, though, you had all these big companies with money, smart people, and most importantly, customers not doing anything new or creative. So that's why I gravitated towards that. When I was finishing the course, the entrepreneurship course, I just started hitting up any company I could, like anyone I knew, anyone I had a lead into, and saying like, hey, hire me. I'll set up an innovation program for you and I'll be your innovation manager. And they're all like, what? What does that even mean? And finally Southeast Water, which is one of the water utilities in Melbourne, I had done a project for them as part of the course. And they're like, all right, we liked what you did. We're willing to give it a shot. So we want you to come on board as our innovation manager. But can you set up a business and contract to us?
Okay.
Which now, reading between the lines, is like, we have very little confidence that this thing is actually going to work. But we're willing to give it a shot. So let's get it going in the way that we can sort of extricate ourselves from the situation as easily as possible. But me, like, I'm like, hey, yeah, of course I can set up a business. We've just learned how to do that. So I set up the business, start consulting, and then it was very, very successful. By the end of that year, they're like, all right, we want you to come on full time. I'm like, nah, well, I've got all these other companies I'm talking to. So I joined up with my business partner back then, and that's when we launched Dynamic Horizons, the innovation business, and started working with, it was utilities first, because once you help one utility do something, the others kind of see, oh yeah, that can work in our environment as well, and then we sort of built it out from there.
Cool.
But even looking back, I certainly didn't know anywhere near as much as I know now around building a sales funnel, just getting just shoe leather, hitting the footpath, getting out there, booking meetings, doing pitches, giving proposals. So, without knowing that, we certainly had ups and downs, because the saying in consulting is that you're either catching bears or eating bears. You can't do both at the same time. So, either you're 150% capacity, working, and this is even with like 4 or 5 staff in the sort of second, third year, we'd built the business up. You're still flat out, and then you come off the engagements and you're like, shit, we better do some marketing. Yeah. So it'll be a bit up and down. So one of the things I would have liked to have just sort of been more across back then was the importance of building your sales funnel and keeping it full, and just knowing you got to keep on doing that prospecting, so you got a regular flow of stuff.
Cool, wicked. And just to find me, what is innovation? What are we talking about there?
Yeah. So it's basically either new products or services for large businesses, or improving internal processes and operations. So it's either, stuff that they can go to market with, so revenue generating stuff, or cost efficiency stuff, smart ways though of improving how they run the business.
Okay.
Generally, and we do it a couple of different ways. Sometimes, we'd come up with the ideas and even put the implementation team together and help them actually make these things real. Or we'd actually do a lot of work with the employees in the business to, sorry, I'm just gonna, there we go. Had an alert popping up. Or we'd work with the employees of the business saying, hey, you got a lot of smart people that work here, but they don't have an avenue to have their ideas heard, screened, funded, developed. Almost, it was kind of like a mini venture capitalist within a larger organization.
Cool. Sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, it was a huge amount of fun. But then as we went through 2007, 8, 9, up to now, and the tech startup scene and sort of the highly leveraged startup scene started to really come to fruition, then my attention sort of started coming back into that area and getting more interested in what I call pure play entrepreneurship, which is, come up with an idea or preferably see a need in the marketplace, come up with an idea, launch a business around that, and then grow a business around solving that problem for people. So that's why the Pantless Postman came along. I'm like, right, I've got to have a crack at this. I've got to do something that's, a bit fun. I'd never done any retail. I'd never done any production, never done any web development. So while there was yes, we wanted to build a business out of it, also actually the other main drivers were get a bit of street cred, do a business that people would talk about and have a bit of fun with, learn how to do e-commerce, learn how to do web development, all that kind of stuff.
Cool. And I think that's just awesome. Is that it's such a those simple ideas, it'd be awesome to get jocks and socks delivered to you, because it's a pain in the ass to go get them. And
absolutely.
Let's make a business doing it.
we would have almost 50% of the customers were girls buying for their boyfriend, husband. And some of the emails we get from them would be so funny. Like, oh my God, you're a lifesaver. My boyfriend's underwear is disgusting. I've instituted a 1 in, 1 out policy. Every time a new package arrives, I throw out some of his other ones. I'm like, that's what it's for.
Cool. So at the moment, a couple of these, the sort of businesses I mentioned you've finished up with, but how many different businesses are you running at the moment, or how many have you working with at the moment?
Yeah, actually at the moment I'm just concentrating down on the Entourage.
Okay, cool.
Because as you know, the business is growing. We're bringing on new programs so that we help entrepreneurs at different stages of their life cycle. And I'm on the executive team here. And so it's about, being fully invested in this and making sure that we grow this as well as we possibly can, give it the best opportunity to sort of impact and help as many entrepreneurs as possible. So I'm just focusing down on this. And it's one of the lessons I've kind of learned as well. Like focus is a very valuable thing. Right? I spent a lot of years across a lot of different things and trying this and trying that and have a crack at this. And I think, diluting your attention can have negative consequences, particularly if you're in and involved in all of those businesses, that's really what I think is my strength, is like getting in, being an active contributor, helping to grow something. If I played, say, more of an advisory capacity, then that's different, right? You can spread yourself a bit thinner. But so now I'm just focusing on the Entourage, and I think it's one of the things that's over the last 3-4 years has started to put me in good stead, is get a bit more focused.
Yeah, okay. It's interesting to hear that. I'd like to hear your thoughts on, like, because that's where I'm at right now. Like I get every sign a new thing, I'm like jumping at it. I'm the kind of guy, though, also, that I guess you hear about, being a good starter and a good finisher. I'm definitely the guy who starts stuff, doesn't finish it. So that's something I need to get someone on my team as the finisher. But do you think, though, like growing up, my dad always said to me, because he went to uni and said, look, just go out and try 100 different jobs and find the one that you really love, and then go to uni if you want to study to get better at that, rather than just going to uni just because everyone else is doing it. Yeah. So I guess, do you think maybe even though you were trying your hand at all these things, do you think that in a way has helped you to find out what it is that you really like doing now? You think it could have helped you?
Yeah, for sure. And in fact, so I started doing a commerce degree. That was the first. So I finished high school at 17, went straight into a commerce degree. Basically did a year, and I hated it. Yeah. And because I had no idea, like, that old story of do well at school, get a good score, get into a good university, into a good course, then get into a good job and just can ride that out. That was already starting to like collapse, particularly for me, right? Yeah. So I did that first year of commerce, hated it. At the same time, I'd started working for a large catering company in Melbourne called Peter Rowland's. And so I'm like, I think I might defer from this university course, like come and work for us full time. Like, yeah, I'll do that for a year. 3 years later, still like working full time for Rowland's. I hadn't gone back to that commerce degree. But I'd started to think that, back then you still really had to do a uni degree, right? Well, that was the general consensus. So I'm like, all right, I've got to do a course. But I definitely do not want to go back to something like I was doing. Was looking around, and the only degree that interested me at all was this entrepreneurship degree. So did that, then as you say, go out from there, try a whole bunch of different stuff, and really kind of start narrowing down on what I like. So I do agree, it's an expansion, like try a whole bunch of stuff, figure out what you like, start focusing down, and then maybe you can become an expert in that thing that you really love.
Yeah, cool. It's good to hear that. I think, with everyone's different. Rather than trying to listen to one, just do what works for you, I guess. Like if you're the kind of guy who's better to focus your attention on one thing, then do it your way. But if you're the kind of guy that spreads out, then try that as well. But just be open to doing it your way and trying other people's stuff. But if it's not working, that's when it's time to change, rather than just
absolutely. Yeah, and a lot of it's how how you feel personally through the process. Like, are you enjoying it? Do you love getting up every morning? Like, do you like getting stuck into what you're doing? Awesome. If you do, then you're on the right path. Yeah. If you hate it every morning and you're dragging yourself out of bed, then all right, something's wrong. Try something else.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. It's like, so one of my big topics that I really love in sort of the entrepreneurial process is product to market fit. Right? It's like, are you addressing a real need in the market with a product that people pay for? And the only way you determine that is through testing. You come up with a hypothesis that this is going to appeal to these people, test the hell out of it. If the test proves that you're on the wrong path, change tact. Yeah. And I think that same principle can be applied across almost everything. Just test it. Yeah. Give it a shot. Go in there being fully prepared to be wrong. Test the hell out of it. And if you get a good result, continue. If you get a bad result, change tact.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. So there's a couple of things there, like flexibility to do that. I knew when I first went to the Entourage, the thing I noticed that I went in there sort of to do this mindset coaching stuff, and I've sort of come out since then realizing that I could really help entrepreneurs with overcoming their fear, because I got there and I saw people going through this first sort of workshop, and then the realization that, oh my God, I've started this business and put 2 years of my life into it, and it's not actually what I want for my life. And I saw that I was going on the head, and I also saw, oh, but I'm going to stick with it because I've just put 2 years of my life and I'm not going to waste all that. So there's like that flexibility. It takes a lot of courage to be flexible enough to do that.
Absolutely. And most people would not change path.
Yeah.
Right. They just keep going down that rabbit hole. And, and then you're 3 years in, and you can't change because now you're 3 years in, and then you're 4 years in, and you definitely cannot go until you're kind of forced. But if you're going down the wrong path to begin with, and eventually you'll have to stop. It just probably won't be from your choosing.
Yeah. And the thing is, I think deep down people are hoping for something else to make that choice for them. They're like, oh, I hope something goes wrong, because then I don't have to make the decision myself, because that's the hard part.
Oh yeah. Silly way to look at it.
Yeah. But now, because before I heard a lot in your voice, like when you talk about the innovation thing, I think I can do this. I think we can try this. Has that always been a part of you? Like, are you always that guy who can just say I can, or did you work on that a bit in your life? Is that just
I think it is. I do reflect on this every now and again, and I think, particularly in the sense of like internal locus of control versus external locus of control. Like, so an internal locus of control is basically saying like, I am in charge of my own destiny. Like, I could influence the situation. Whereas an external locus of control is that the situation, it's not up to me. Like, it is how it is, and I can't really control what's going on. So I very much, and I think a lot of successful entrepreneurs have or have fostered an internal locus of control. Yeah. Like, they're sort of the masters of their own destiny. But I think I kind of have just had that, right? I think there's certainly times where I'm like, I've got to consciously push myself to take what I think is the right step. But a lot of the times I just kind of push on, like, just give it a crack. Like, the things that have always interested me are, I say the main thing that interests me is adventure or progress or new ideas or new things. So innately, I'm just always kind of chasing that or looking for that. And I think part and parcel with that is that you kind of need to give it a crack.
Yeah, and follow the fun. If you're not following the fun, then you're gonna have a boring time doing it. You're not going to get very far because the passion's not going to take you anywhere. So
yeah, absolutely. So, but I do think that that internal locus of control, I definitely think it can be enhanced, or it can be fostered in someone. And I think the first thing is recognizing, like, do you think you have control over the situation, or do you think the situation has control over you? Yeah. If it's the latter, then how can you wrestle control and sort of be in charge of what's going on?
Yeah. I know it can be fostered. It's just sometimes convincing people it can be the hard part. That nature
absolutely.
Nurture thing, that nature versus nurture thing. I think I'm a big believer in nurture, because that gives me the control that I can change it. Where if it's all nature, then that it leaves you out of control. So it's not much.
Yeah. Well, I definitely agree absolutely. Like, when I first started doing the entrepreneurship degree, and also with all the stuff we do now, a lot of people still say, like, can you learn to be an entrepreneur? How can you learn to be an entrepreneur? Aren't entrepreneurs just born? Which I absolutely do not think is right. I think there's an element of there's definitely an element of looking for opportunity, being willing to put yourself in slightly uncomfortable situations, push forwards. Even that can be nurtured, but all the rest of it, sort of the mechanics side of building a business, 100% learned. They're all skills that can be learned. Yeah. And even the mindset side, actually, the mindset required to be an entrepreneur, looking for opportunity, being willing to test, putting yourself in situations that other people might not. Even that's a skill. Like, do it a lot of times, you get better at it.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Now, I know I'm conscious of time. I know you're going to get going pretty shortly, but that's exactly the thing.
Yeah. I've got another 5 or 10 actually. One of that notification that was coming out before was someone saying pushing back something. So okay. Yeah, we can go for another 10.
Yeah, well, I'd just love to talk on that, because I think for me, a good entrepreneur is just someone that hustles. But I guess that by that they mean that you'll push through the hard stuff because you're willing to. You're a winner, I guess. That's what I see entrepreneurs. A winner, like, I see myself, I'm going to win, so I'll keep pushing through the hard stuff because I know I'll get there. And I don't think the people that they say they're born with it is because maybe at a young age they're forced into it by their parents or by consequences. And when you're forced into something you don't want to do a couple of times, but you get a good result, you go, oh, maybe by doing this hard stuff, and you start to realize, if I do the hard stuff, it actually can work. Where the people who aren't forced in that stuff perhaps never learn that if you put yourself through that stuff that's a bit uncomfortable, you can actually win out of it.
Yeah, that's true. Well, it's hard work. Like entrepreneurship, building a business, any stage of building a business, whether it's the initial like launch stage, whether it's scaling it up, whether it's kind of growing a large business, it's hard work. Like it's never not going to be hard work. And I think that's the, some people get disheartened by that. They're like, oh my God, this is a lot. I thought I would be like the movie version of Facebook, right? I have a great idea, I go home, I code all night, and then boom, I'm worth $1 billion. It just doesn't happen. So like I recognize like there's a lot of hard work involved in all aspects of business. But you got to do it. Like, and is the thing that you're driving towards worth that hard work? Well, you've got to ask yourself that question. And sometimes you'll say, no, it's not. Well, right, time to change tack. But a lot of the time you'll say, yep. All right, I understand what I'm trying to do. The hard work's worth it. Head down, bum up, just get it done. Yeah, get through the rough patches because the good patches are worth it. Yeah,
well, I definitely did think that. I thought it's going to be the easiest thing possible when I got into entrepreneurship. And I'm actually happy I did think that, because if I knew how hard it would have been, I might not have ever started.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of like, if I knew how hard this was going to be, there's no way I would have been crazy enough to give it a crack. But then this is the great thing. This is the thing I love about serial entrepreneurs. They're like, they know how hard it is, but they're hooked. Like, right, okay, here we go again. Let's go again. But it's worth it. Yeah, and that's people that you find like people that kind of navigate back to or get drawn back to entrepreneurial endeavors in whatever capacity, either as a founder or working for them or helping to grow one. Like the people that get drawn back, I don't know, let's call it more than, I was going to say more than twice, but maybe more than 3 times, right? If you keep coming back into that environment, it's just the place you need to be, right? You just keep getting drawn back to it. That's where you're going to end up. Great. You're starting to head down the right path.
Yeah. You're probably chasing a rush of some sort, I suppose, aren't you? Like a bit of a thrill.
Well, yeah. And yeah, absolutely. And that I see that plays out in my personal life as well. Like my hobby is I've got a little race car. A 1985 BMW racing the E30 race series. I actually think it's quite similar to entrepreneurship and building a business in that it's frenetic, it's fast paced, but you also have to be very, very accurate at times. Like you've got it. So it's this balance between thrill seeking adrenaline and really serious mental concentration. Yeah. And it's kind of like building a business.
True. And I think too, with something like that is, I guess for me in sport, adrenaline stuff, that it's actually the best part. The part that feels best is then you can look back after winning or even just competing and saying, the only reason I got this far is because I put in all the work behind the scenes.
Yep.
And that's what makes me feel good, because it was those days I didn't want to get up early in the morning and I still did it.
Yeah, exactly.
I didn't want to train, or the days I didn't want to work in the car, or the days I didn't want to go get sponsorship in the car, whatever it is. I still did it, and now I'm here, and now I feel awesome as a result. So. Yeah,
I agree. Yeah, so I run quite a bit now, but not the kind of distance that I used to run. But it used to be, that kind of when you do a half marathon, cross the finish line, it's kind of, I agree. It's almost less about that moment, and it's about reflecting back on, the last 6 months of training that I did.
Isn't it? And it feels good to be the guy that, so I had a few fights in Thailand, like Muay Thai fights, and I just thought it feels good when I looked around the gym and think I'm the guy who's training harder than anyone here. That was like my motivation. And it makes me feel like the man. So
hopefully that correlates into your performance in the ring.
Yeah, well, I was going to do a post about this the other day, because at the time of the fight, I just was in the zone. I thought, oh God, I beat the crap out of this guy. And then when I watched the video back, I was getting punched and my head was all bloody. But at the time, I just felt like I was in the zone. So that's all that matters. That's like in the race car, right? We use like I set up a GoPro you record everything that's going on. So it gets everything that you're doing, and also the track and your lines and all the rest. So you're always chasing the perfect lap, right? And the perfect lap is, it's smooth, it's precise, it's in control, it's hitting all the marks you need to hit. So you'll be in the zone and you're like, oh yeah, I'm nailing this lap.
And then you watch the video back and you're like, and you're all over the place and you're missing kids. Oh no.
Yeah, that's so true. But just feeling in the zone is so cool. Actually, I'd love. I saw the post said you've made a website up about showing people how to get into motorsport, because that's something I've always wondered. When I watch rally, and I think, how the hell do these dudes get in? I mean, you must go through so much money and so much time crashing cars to get that good. There has to be one way you can get in.
It's one of the. Look, it's definitely one of those. I mean, rally. Those dudes are crazy, right? I've only done a tiny little bit of rally driving, and I would never do that very seriously, because just too late to the game. Like, it's one of those sports where you really do need to be in it extremely early to be to be anywhere near the top level. Like, we're talking, you should be in karts at 6 or 7. And then moving up into open wheelers, like those Formula Fords. This is on circuit racing. Formula Fords at like 13, 14, and then all the way up like that. It's it requires that much skill and precision, and just so there's so much that's mental, and there's so much that's just physical, reactive. Your body just knows what to do when you get any feedback from the car. The rally guys are crazy. But when they're in the zone, or when they're flying and they're doing, it's unbelievable.
Yeah. And I've heard that too from commentators. They say, like, when you're in the zone, 5-10 laps to go past, and you just flown, like you've just been like a meditation, like in trance.
Yeah. It is. It can be quite. Everything else is out, right? So I do quite a bit of sort of endurance. Like maybe a 6-hour race where you're in a team and people drive for it. You might drive for an hour and a half at a time, right?
Cool.
Going around, and it's almost meditative, right? Yeah. Like, there's nothing else going on. It is just what you're doing, and it's corner by corner, and you're just extremely focused. So yeah, it does have a lot of, it is almost like meditating, in that nothing else is going on. Nothing else is passing through your mind. You're just in the moment, in the zone at that one time. Yeah,
I think adrenaline sports in general are actually like, I used to describe it as like man's meditation, even surfing, but you can get away from all your shit outside in the outside world, because you're just so clear on one thing, and that's all the meditation is, isn't it? Just focusing your mind.
Yeah, absolutely. So I try to meditate in the morning reasonably often. I just think it really sets me up for the day and keeps me focused and gets a lot of the shit out. But I'm not particularly good at like doing stationary meditation. Mm-hmm. I get a bit distracted, so I like coupling it with running.
Yeah.
So like this morning, went out for a good run, and I use the kind of the principles of meditation as I'm running. So trying to ignore everything, get all the other thoughts out of my mind, just focus on what I'm doing, and it's kind of like it's more efficient to start. I get my exercise,
2 for 1,
and my mental clarity all at once, which is a big fan of efficiency. So. I think doing like that kind of active meditation is hugely valuable.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm exactly the same. I was using meditation almost as an excuse because I get up really early in the morning. I get out of bed and have meditate. It's also like an excuse to go back to sleep while I'm sitting there. But now I do this.
So in the zone, I just pass back.
So now I stand up, but I do this breath training, which is simple. It's just the same thing. Like, just focusing your mind and do sort of affirmations while you're doing it. But yeah, rather than using it as an excuse, just do something that actually sets up the day and makes you feel awesome. So
yeah, absolutely.
Now I know you're going to get going, mate. So thanks so much for your time. I know you're a busy man.
Very welcome.
It was good fun. It was
a nice broad or far-ranging conversation.
Yeah, I didn't get through any of my questions basically, but I learned a lot. I learned a lot about you, and especially the stuff, just that can-do attitude. I'm trying to let everyone know you can breed it, you can create it.
Yeah.
And it's
absolutely.
About getting outside your comfort zone, and that's what I try and do with my clients. Is show them how to get outside his comfort zone. Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's practice at it. Like, it's like what I was explaining it the other day, right? Like when you're at a function or an event, right, or a networking thing, and you're standing on the outside of the room, right, and there's all these little circles going on. It's pretty hard to break into one of them, right? Mm. But all you need to do is just literally walk in and go, "Hey guys, can I join?" Yeah. And you do that one time, and you're like, "Oh, that wasn't too bad." And then you do it a second time. It's like, "Oh, this is getting a bit easy." And then before you know it, you just like, that's just how you work a room. Like, you just walk up, "Hey guys, can I join in the conversation?" And you realize it's not that hard. So I think it's a really good analogy for getting yourself out of your comfort zone. Practice it a little bit. You realize it's not as bad. The consequences aren't as bad. And then you're better at it for next time.
And then after a little while, it becomes fun too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Particularly if you say to your mate, you're like, watch this.
Yeah. Yeah, I do like pick-up coaching for guys as well. So I do that. It's the same thing. Once you're confident, it's such a overwhelming thing. If you can be, it's just exactly the same. If you can walk up to some cute girls and be confident, then you can do anything in the world. So same thing.
Yeah.
A group of girls and just walk in, just say hi. It's the same thing. Works a treat.
Well, that's definitely ratcheting up the challenge a little bit.
Well, you got a fiance now. You're getting married, but I'll take out one time.
That's all right. I can still practice. No.
Awesome. So thanks for that, Tim. That was a lot of fun. Thanks for your time. And
thanks, man. Yeah, really good chat.
Cool. And I'll send you a link for the interview and everything else. So.
Yeah, cool. Love to watch it.
Is there anywhere where do you want if people want to get in contact with you, LinkedIn or something, or?
I'm on LinkedIn. Just TAC Morris or Tim Morris. Yes, on there, or at the Entourage, TIMM at the-entourage.com.au. Yeah, happy to hear from anyone.
Cool. Awesome. Okay. Thanks very much again, and I'll speak to you soon.
Thanks, Niall.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers.
Bye.